Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Business. I'm Ed Jarecki, and I'm thrilled to guide you through today's journey. Thank you for joining us and making this part of your entrepreneurial journey. Today, we have a very special coach, Pierre Cormier, who specializes in helping overwhelmed entrepreneurs achieve balance and regain control over their thoughts and emotions through effective self-care routines and without medication. His approach is based on energetic healing practices developed over 10 years, offering simple and practical processes that produce tangible results. Pierre's unique perspective stems from his early studies under a spiritual master, which provided him with profound teachings rooted in ancient wisdom. He works with entrepreneurs who are tired of living in chaos and seek stillness in their lives, utilizing his refined processes that have been tested with hundreds of one-on-one clients. As Pierre joins us on the show, he'll shed light on what success means to him personally and how his definition has evolved over time, as well as one or two of his top challenges and the lessons learned associated with them. And finally, for today, we'll explore how Pierre has leveraged innovation in his business and other work to overcome challenges and achieve his goals. So join me in welcoming Pierre Cormier to the show. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Pierre. It's wonderful to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm terrific. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
It is absolutely my pleasure and honor. I love getting to know you. You've got a heck of a story. So would you mind starting by kind of sharing a little bit more about yourself and your business?
Absolutely. The first place I always start is where it all started, where I actually got interested in the world of spirituality and meditation and what fuels me and what has been fueling me on my journey. And it all started with pain, as a lot of transformation and change does. There has to be some kind of pain for us to be able to create desires. In other words, we have to experience something we don't want in order for us to actually create and define what we do want. And it all started for me in middle school when I moved schools and I started to get bullied. I was always very shy, very insecure, and an easy target for bullies to just come in and pick at me. And I didn't have confidence, so I didn't know how to stand up for myself. So I just took all of that stuff in, and it just became really overwhelming, and I didn't know how to manage my emotions, my thoughts. And fast forward to high school, and that kept going, it kept happening. And again, I didn't have the tools to know how to navigate these emotional and mental challenges. And then I hit a big rock bottom at 15 years old, and I was completely out, completely depressed, no motivation. And this is where my gracious and loving parents came to the rescue for me. And they just started asking me questions to understand what was going on, because I didn't know. I was down and out and I couldn't understand why. And after that night, I decided that things needed to change. I decided to take matters in my own hands and to find a solution. And that solution, the lowest hanging fruit for me, was meditation, because my second oldest brother had gone through a lot of anxiety issues, and he discovered meditation in various books that he was reading. And so he planted that seed in my mind. And so that was like the first thing that just came up for me as a potential solution. And so the next day after my big rock bottom, I show up from school and I just put all my pillows in one corner of my bed. And I just sit there and I start counting my breaths. And that's the meditation that he introduced, was called the 100 breath meditation, where you essentially bring all your focus and attention to your breath with the intention of redirecting your focus so that you're not thinking about all these things anymore, that you're embodying your energy and you're just coming back to the present moment. And I was so hungry to find stillness and inner peace, because I had been living with this inner chaos and turmoil and felt completely out of control of myself for so long, that I just brought that hunger and that drive in that exercise. And I just kept going and going and going, because the exercise tells you that if you catch your mind drifting off and you're not focusing on your breath, you have to restart at 0 and you have to try to get to 100. It's not an easy feat. And I sat there and I went 1, 2, then I had to start again, and then 1, and then start again. And it was just like this. And I got really, really frustrated. But then at a certain point, something clicked. And I just said, Pierre, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. And I showed up with a completely different energy. And I don't remember exactly where I got to, but I got far enough that when I opened my eyes, things were completely different. My nervous system was completely reset. I felt still, I felt present. my room looked completely different. It was a big awakening moment for me where I started to realize a lot of things. And I started to look into natural health, holistic healing, how to take care of my body, take care of my mind. I started reading books on spirituality and meditation. And I was kind of a lone wolf, I was doing this in my own room by myself. It separated me from the crowd even more because I was still in high school and I was walking around with these books and crystals in my pocket. And I was kind of that weirdo, but I was happy being that weirdo because I would much prefer being that weirdo and actually having my own thing going on than to try to fit in and to just get bullied again and to go through that pain. So for me, it was just a period of discovery, of self-discovery, self-understanding. And then fast forward 2 years, and I'm graduated high school, and I work at this grocery store pushing carts. And I happened to see this bright yellow SUV in the parking lot, and it had the company name Spiritual Rejuvenators on the side. And I was very intrigued. And being the go-getter that I am, I walked up to the car and knocked on the window, and there was a lady sitting in the driver's seat. And we started talking, and she said, "Oh, I'm a numerologist and astrologist, and my husband does all the spiritual stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's meet the husband." So he gets back from the grocery store. He had just went inside to get bottled water. And when he came back and he shook my hand, that was a big turning point in my life. That moment, everything kind of shifted because he was a very gifted human being, unlike any human being I've ever met. He was a very powerful psychic and clairvoyant, and he connected with my soul. And I felt completely naked in front of him. It was a very uncomfortable feeling, but at the same time, I felt safe. It was very interesting for a 17-year-old to go through that interaction. For the first 10 seconds when we shook hands, he just looked at me and kind of looked around me, like scanning my energy, I guess. And I expressed that I wanted to learn more Reiki, meditation. I'm very interested in this. And so he invited me for workshops. And I studied under him for close to 3 years. And he used to call me his protege. I discovered that I have some gifts as well, and he helped me to develop them. And then I started working on family members and friends, helping them to clear energetic blockages, helping them to understand themselves better using these intuitive abilities. And now fast forward to today, 10 years later, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people come through the door, either one-on-one in person or online. And I've refined these different processes, like you mentioned in the introduction, where now when people come into my program, I help them to quickly and effectively get rid of these energetic blockages so that they can take back control of themselves and be more of their true selves in the present moment right now. So there's a lot of things that are invisible to us that society does not teach us to pay attention to. And this was all stuff that I was learning from my teacher and also discovering by myself through my own meditation practice and being an asker of deep and profound questions and an endless seeker of knowledge and wisdom. I discovered certain things about life that allowed me to liberate myself from the challenging emotions and negative thoughts, different limiting beliefs about the world and myself and how to be happy and healthy. And I discovered these things, and my immediate desire once I discovered that was to start to share, because I realized that that's where true fulfillment comes from. When you are in service to other people and you help make their lives better. And so I discovered how to make my life better. I found stillness and inner peace and fulfillment. And now my mission is to get that to as many people as possible.
Stunning. I love that story. So it'll be kind of interesting to hear the response to this first question, which is, how do you define success today?
Success for me is multifaceted. Of course, there's the financial component, which everyone needs. I think a lot of people seek that sense of security because money is tied to our life essence, and it provides us the opportunity to live, to travel, to eat good food, to feed our bodies and invest in different knowledge and coaching. And so money is really deeply intertwined with life. And I think that's one component. And that's something that took me a long time to actually get a grip on, because I used to believe that spirituality and money could not go together. So I had to do a lot of work around those beliefs. But for me, the deepest part of success is an inner feeling that you're able to live with or find or create. I actually work with very successful entrepreneurs now, and these people have a lot of money in the bank. And as soon as we crack open their internal world and I help them to see certain things and bring certain stuff to the surface and shine the light on it, I'm shocked, just to be honest, just to see that they have all this money, but there's so many things that are unaddressed deep within them that they don't have inner peace. They don't have stillness. They can't actually sit down and do nothing and feel good. They always have to keep themselves distracted and always have to keep doing stuff. And there's positive and negative to that, because the positive is you're creating a lot, you're productive in society, and you're serving your mission. But then if you don't know how to come back and sit down and pause completely and rejuvenate your batteries and actually work towards being able to stay in a state where you're completely still, where you're giving yourself the opportunity to recharge and rejuvenate, I think that's a big piece that defines success. And that's something that I found early on. And I found that level of success early on in my life. And the financial component kind of organically and naturally followed that. So to wrap all of that up into one thing, success for me is inner peace and fulfillment.
So, in considering this journey that you've had over this last decade plus, how has that definition evolved over that time?
Well, I used to have a hard time accepting the fact that I was successful because I didn't have the financial component. I struggled with that. But over time, I learned that money is important, but if you depend on money or any outside circumstances to define how you're going to feel about life, then you're going to be tied to all these different influences, and someone can come in and rip all of that apart for you, and you're left with nothing. And a question, actually, this brings me to a very interesting question that I ask to a lot of my clients. And the question is, if you were stranded alone in a desert with nothing, could you still find a sense of joy?
If my wife is with me,
Right. So for most people, there's a lot of things that are big contributors to that sense of joy and inner peace. And so my next question, when I ask that, people are like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, well, what would you need? And that tells me how they define success or where they reach out to get that inner feeling. And it's always a great place to help, coach them, because it illuminates certain attachments that they may have and certain perceptions that they may have. And a lot of times it's our perception of the things that in our lives that cause us the most suffering. And that's one thing that I work with my clients that I've had great success with. It's helping them to just look at a situation from a different perspective and shift how they look at it and how they perceive it, so that they actually get empowered and they actually get positive energy from that situation. There's always a silver lining in everything.
absolutely incredible. Thank you for that. And so my next question is none of these journeys are easy. And like you kind of indicated, that financial component came over time as you just kind of embraced your passion and flowed with it. But what are one or two of those key challenges that you've experienced and the lessons learned?
The first biggest challenge was being different, not having people around me that understood my aspirations, my vision, and my values. At times, I regressed in my practices because I was looking around and I didn't have that person that I could actually be completely open and authentic with. So there was a period of time where I was stuck in like this gap, in like almost like a void, where the people that I used to be friends with, I outgrew. And then I didn't have the people that was able to meet me where I was going yet. So there was maybe like a 5-year period in the last 10 years in that middle where I was still learning to embody my true self. And in that process, a lot of people just was going in and out of my life because I was looking and I was still refining who I was and who I wanted to be surrounded with. I would say that was the biggest challenge, to find people that can see me for who I truly am and actually give me that level of support that I really need.
So if you were to state that from an advice perspective to our audience,
Mm.
what guidance would you give them?
Find people that have what you want and that have been where you're at, and bury yourself in their books and read as much as you can and listen to audios, and that can become your friends. That's what I did. I latched on to these people that I didn't know personally, but I got to know through their work. People like Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins was a big influence in my life, of course. Brennan Burchard early on. There was Dean Graziosi, all these people that are out there sharing this information with the intention of helping you. They can become your friends too. Even if you don't know them, you can build a relationship with these people because they share so much of their journey and so much of their life experience. And for me, the books were that source of inspiration and motivation to just keep going. And then eventually you meet the people that match your vibration, that match who you are, and then life takes off from there. So now my friends group, they're all very conscious people. They're all entrepreneurs. We support each other on our journey, and it's the most beautiful thing.
Outstanding. The other thing that I hear through your messaging, and that's been reiterated, and have lived and agree with this myself, is remove the toxins from your life.
Mm,
Those entities that bring you down or hold you back or belittle you because you do think, act different than they do.
yeah.
Any response to that?
There's another component. This is where I come from because my teacher is a very, very strong-minded individual, and he taught me to be that way. And when there's people around you, of course, you have to separate yourself from them, but also working on building your internal strength through practices like meditation can be very powerful at helping you strengthen your mind so that you're more resilient when these people come in and they try to sabotage you. Of course, you want to separate yourself from them. That's the ideal scenario, but truth is negativity will always be around us. And there's a great speaker, Jim Rohn. He said, things don't get easier, you just get better. And that stuck with me. I was like, wow, that is a beautiful representation of my journey. Because now when I go into these situations that a lot of people get overwhelmed and, like social anxiety, I'm observing and not as easily influenced by negative influences because I have strengthened my inner self. So I agree that it's important to remove the toxins, like toxic people, toxic sources of information, like the media, the news, all that.
Yep.
Be careful what movie you watch. Like everything impacts your mind, right? So that's a component that I've definitely looked at and done a lot of work on. But I think the most important piece to that is to strengthen your inner self so that you're not easily influenced by other people.
I love it.
Yeah.
Very well said. Thank you. From an innovation perspective, what you do is really grounded in ancient beliefs, ancient practices. From an innovation perspective, how does that play as the world continues to evolve and bombard us with incredible change every day?
I was put here on this earth to bridge the gap between spirituality and practicality. And I realized very early on that what I teach is something that is inside everyone, every human being. And I was guided and shown a path to help other people get acquainted with this knowledge and not only know about it, but put it to practical use in their life so that they can actually see fast results and start using the tools, not just thinking about them and pretending like they're using them, actually teaching them how to integrate into their life. And I've always been a visionary. And when I think about what I do, I see with the innovation piece, like you mentioned, the innovation that I've been guided to do in the work that I'm doing is innovating the internal world of people and shifting certain philosophies and perspectives so that they can actually tune into their own internal intelligence and make it work for them, get in alignment with their true nature and live according to the universal principles and laws. So the innovation happens on an invisible level in my world, but it impacts people on a very profound level and helps them transform their life as a result.
So, if there was one takeaway that you would tell our audience, you really must consider this
Hmm.
for your business success, for your life success, what would that be?
you are number one in your life. And if you can accept that without, any guilt or shame, understanding that you're not selfish by putting yourself first, coming at life from a perspective of I am number one. I need to take care of myself if I want to be an effective human being in society and contribute in meaningful ways and find fulfillment and joy and inner peace. You need to invest in yourself. And the best investment you can make, from my perspective, is developing a meditation practice. And I'm a big, big, big meditation guy, because meditation is not just a practice to help you relax and de-stress. It's a practice to get you closer to your true self and give you clarity on why are you here? Who are you? There's such a great depth within each and every one of us. And meditation gives us the opportunity to open up and connect to that depth. And I've always said that meditation is our superpower, because there's hundreds of benefits. And this is coming out now with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on the scientific front with meditation. And then you look at different gurus from India, they talk about, self-actualization, self-realization. This is something that it's present in each and every one of us. And I've seen it completely transform my life. And that's why I do what I do now, where I actually help people develop these practices in their life so they can actually ask the bigger questions and actually get the answers, confront big problems and find the solutions. We have all the answers within. And you hear that a lot, but how much time and actually attention are you putting on that statement? So there's a great saying, and I'm not sure who said it, but he said that it's not the number of books you read, it's how much focus and attention you're putting on those books. So it's the same concept with meditation. A lot of people will try to solve their problems, but they don't realize that they're actually not sitting down and focusing on that problem deeply with the right intention. When you understand that you can take a problem and just focus on it like a laser beam, and as you do, you're actually creating something in the invisible world, and you're drawing to you thoughts, ideas, perspectives, insights that will help you to solve that problem. And so you're going to begin attracting people, events, books, and it's all going to start transpiring for you. But you need to put time and attention, like focused attention. And that's what meditation teaches you to do, to really take hold of your mind and direct it where you want it to go.
I love that. I think that's very profound. At the same time, one of the thoughts spinning through my head is the fact that as the world continues to move forward, it's growing in complexity every day. So I can only imagine getting to that focus. And I just look at my life and career, which I've been around the block a few times, and the speed in which things are done today versus what they were done 20, 30 plus years ago. And the number of things within that. So I look at artificial intelligence right now. I've stated many times, I could not do everything I do with as small of a support team as I have without all this technology. But at the same time, it's demanding of me a constant. And my thought and guess out there is that we're all experiencing that from one perspective or another. So when I consider what you're saying, and of course, it's all supported by experts I've read and watched documentaries around, focus is so important. Meditation is a core component to it. I did take an introduction course to positive intelligence back in the January to March timeframe, and it speaks to some of these same things. And I'll admit, I, for one, had some challenges because of the need to focus. Now, they were really great about it, saying just start over, just start over, just start over. But it's not an easy thing, especially as the world around us continues to grow in its complexity. Any thoughts with that?
Yeah, I agree. It's not easy, but nothing worthwhile is easy.
Yeah.
And I know how hard it is for people to focus. So that's why my approach is really one moment at a time, one breath at a time. Let's start you with 1 second, then build up to 5 seconds, and build up to 10 seconds. And eventually you can do 15 minutes, 30 minutes, where you're just completely dialed into one thing and you're focused on one thing. So it's definitely not easy, but the price you pay for not developing your mind and ability to focus ends up being far greater than the price you have to pay to achieve that ability.
Fair words. Any final thoughts?
I think I said that you're number one, learn to take care of yourself, and you have all the answers within.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed.
I want to thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to our incredible guest, Pierre Cormier, for sharing his insights, experiences, and success tactics with us. We hope this conversation will leave you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenges of entrepreneurship with vigor, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it's essential to define it for yourself. However, take the lessons shared by Pierre to heart as you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey. Embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again to our phenomenal guest speaker, Pierre Cormier, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind incredible entrepreneurs. Stay resilient, stay innovative, and have a wonderful day, everybody.